racing. Here on the Miata, we need to weld the diff and change out the diff bushings, check out some things, pull the transmission, see if we can verify that it's a rear main seal leak. It's got a little dribblage going on, and maybe check out the brakes because they're not so great. Starting from the back, we have the muffler we slapped on because, you know, had to make it sound drifty, even though this thing's still open back here. We've got a crusty old stock differential. This vehicle spent a lot of time on the coast before it made its way over to Eastern Oregon, so surprisingly not crusty, all things considered, but you can definitely tell it's seen some salt. You know, the driveline here, she's a little crusty. What we have here is some weld burn spots from the all the plating that's holding the roll bar in. So we get down here. I know we got an exhaust leak when we started up, and I think it's coming from there. I've been scraping that anyway, so maybe we'll do something more compact right there. I did notice that driveline is wiggly. This transmission makes a lot of noise. I have another one that hopefully makes less or none. And obviously that's pretty drippy. The main drippage we got going on here looks like it's coming from right there, right between the transmission, or the bell housing and the oil pan there. More than likely rear main. We're gonna have to pull it off to find that out. So we're gonna do a bunch of stuff while we're down here. Got some random return spring that evidently isn't needed there. Car has a totaled title, so a couple funky things going on. Probably not related to a wreck right there, but it's got other funky things. We got fancy cut knuckles painted to match the theme of the car, and the finest Raceland coilovers money can buy. So looks like we got a winner on our hands. So we're learning how Miatas go together. There's a bunch of weird interlocking thingies, and I kind of had to swing it out, and I probably did it wrong, so I'm not even going to go into much detail there. It worked, you know, it's got lots of thingies. Soon we're going to find out how this thing comes apart, but I got rid of my oil drain pan when I moved, so I have to buy another one. And what I might do tonight is get these diff bushings out, because I have some polyurethane units to put in place. Best thing to do on these, because we have a steel sleeve that's inside of the aluminum, and it kind of fuses itself in on old crusty loose old bushings like this. So drill some holes, make room for a Sawzall blade, and I'm going to cut into the metal, and probably do that in a couple spots if I can. I'm not going to cut in all the way, I'm just going to cut in most of the way because I don't want to cut the aluminum whatsoever. And then you take a punch and work your way in and try to smash this inwards, and the cuts you made help the thing kind of collapse in on itself and separate from the aluminum, and then you should be able to get it out. So we're going to see how that goes. See? Easy. You can see where the cuts happened. At least I think those are my cuts. Well, maybe they weren't in this case. But you know. So interesting thing I discovered on a Miata is it looks like these are split anyway. So my method kind of works without the other nonsense I was doing. Just hit it with the punch and go inwards. I didn't really get a whole lot of meat when I was cutting it, but nonetheless, I don't know, probably helped a little bit. So, pardon the mess on the floor. Things get out of control. I become an animal when I'm hammering things out. So, we've got these bushings here. There's a part number. I have no experience with this brand. They were just a good deal on polyurethane bushings. The directions look like they say the taller piece goes in the top and then the bottom piece hangs out. Before I do that, I have just a couple little nicks in here that we're gonna, well, maybe just one. We're gonna file that out, and we're gonna lube these up really good, and we're gonna see if we can pop them in there. I'm not so worried about having these in when I weld the diff, because this is like a third member, like a Toyota pickup or something. So this whole back half that's attached to all this appears like it's not going to be in the line of fire at all. I'm going to give this a whirl, see what we're up against. Kind of get started. We need to press. Well, presses are nice. I could practically push this in with my hands, but this is better. New bushings are installed. What we have going on here is a bunch of tools that probably just need to be put away just so it's not a mess when we start over tomorrow or whenever. And we've cleaned that a little bit during the fluids. We've got the clutch and the pressure plate and flywheel, all that out. Transmission's out, and the noise we were talking about on the transmission, well, that ain't normal. I feel like that's what it is. We're gonna put a new clutch on. It's a real shame because it's sure got a lot of meat on there. Debating getting that resurfaced or getting a lighter flywheel. Probably just keep it resurfaced, keep it simple. Works for the E46. I really like the pilot bearing design on the Miata because it looks like I can just kind of punch it out of there and punch a new one in versus having to dig it out of the abyss like most cars. This thing needs to be pressure washed, and I don't know, maybe we'll see about putting some goop up there to keep that from dripping down. One thing on a Miata, there's like a little, I think my RX-7 transmission did the same thing, and I never put oil in here because I was dumb. But there's a drain there to get some oil out of that so you don't spill that all over yourself when you're dropping it down. So we got evidence of a rear main seal leak going on because that's all messed up. Also, with all the crap going on up here, well, something was leaking from up higher. I'll get to that in just a second. We did just do the timing belt, which means you're replacing the valve cover gasket because, you know, timing belt's under that and that has to come off, you know. Science. So as we go underneath of this thing, you can see some more of the coastal crust going on up there. There was a drip mark going on here, and which I've wiped off. I'm still really hopeful that this is the issue, this rear main here, because I really don't want it to be the oil pan gasket because I don't want to pull that. Looking over there, it doesn't look too promising. Also up there, we've got some drippage going on up there. I have wiped it. I'm going to see if more happens overnight. Now granted, that's not super likely because I'm not going to run the car. And we'll see what happens before I buy parts and start throwing them at it. And hopefully this is an easy fix. If nothing else, I need to do the clutch anyway, obviously, because I think I'd grenade that damn thing drifting on this car. So, yeah. Another thing to note is that the crusty old driveline looks to be non-serviceable like a BMW, and that U-joint seems not the tightest, but not super bad. But this one, well, not sure if the camera's picking up noise, but it makes noise.